Hi, my name is Elise Michelle. I'm part of Massic Robotics, Team 4478A, so VEX See It Hurts, and I'm here to talk about our robot, Rosie. Here I'm going to talk about one of the most unique aspects about our robot, the transmission system that we implemented into it. My junior year of Massic VEX, our robot made it into the World's Championship in Los Angeles, California. And one of the things that we observed while we were there was that the robots competing at this level are well thought out and modified machines, so we took our time to conceptualize our robot before building it. We decided that the best approach to our new robot would be one that is both fast and strong, though this is a difficult task with only 10 motor ports. Our solution to this problem was to devise a transmission system on the chassis of our robot. We would devote 6 motors, 3 on either side, to the system, which would switch from powering the back wheels to powering the lift. This is the original concept drawn out. The transmission box is placed in the center of the front and back wheels and has a series of gears that would be able to lift the assembly of gears from engaging the back wheels using 6 motors and having free spinning front wheels to engaging the lift with 6 transmission motors and having 2 motors become usable in the front wheels to allow adjustments to be made to the robot's position while in lift mode. The intense gearing we had implemented moved the robot to a significantly higher velocity than the other robots in the field, which gave us a large advantage. And when shifted back to the lift mode of our original bar lift design, it lifted in about 2 seconds. Another one of our major priorities when building the transmission was to be very modular, allowing for easy access if we need to make modifications to the motors or the gearing after it was already built, which was, as we found, often necessary during the building and testing process. This is a picture of the transmission system. When the gears are engaged on the left side, the back wheels are engaged, meaning that it is in drive mode. And when the system is shifted to the right, the front wheel is no longer free spinning and is connected to a high-powered motor, and the lift, which at this point had not yet been built, would also become connected to the transmission system via a tower of gears. In order to shift gears, we're going to rely on a pneumatic system with 2 air tanks stored somewhere on the robot, which would be filled before every match using a bike pump. When a button on the remote is pressed, it releases air from the tanks to change the position of the transmission system, and with a conservative amount of grease and jiggling of the lift and drive functions, it transitions almost seamlessly. In the beginning, when first testing the robot's ability to drive, we encountered a lot of quickly burnt out motors. After a step-by-step breakdown of the robot's functionality, we concluded that the motors were not in the correct orientation of clockwise and counterclockwise rotations. Some motors worked against the others, causing them to quickly malfunction and reduce the quality of our robot's driving abilities. This is the completely built chassis of our robot, and on the left picture you can see how the motors are oriented on the bottom of the robot with the pneumatics in place to shift the system in its wanted position. On the top right picture you can see the 2 air tanks that we have for the pneumatics placed on the robot. And on the bottom right picture you can see our tower of gears lining up to connect the lift to our transmission system at the bottom in order to move it. One of the most challenging and reoccurring problems we faced with our robot this year was that the transmission system produced too much torque. So although the transmission system worked in theory, in practice, the plastic VEX gears and the small axles failed the strain that we put them under. Our first obstacle was that we twisted the axles in the first tier of the towers for the lift. Our solution to this was to buy the new high-strength axles that VEX had just released, because they are 4 times the size of the old axles and they should withstand the force being applied to them. Our second obstacle, though, was on the second level of gears on the tower, became bent. So our solution to that was redesigning the gearing on the towers to produce less strain on the axles themselves, as well as upgrading these axles to the high-strength ones, as with the first level of gears. After solving the problem with the axles, we then realized that the torque was not only too much for the axles to handle, but also for the first and second level of plastic gears in the lift. The high-strength axles began warping the inside of the gears from squares to circles, thus making the gears ineffective. Our solution to this problem, after replacing a multitude of gears, we finally thought of a design modification that could eliminate future gears from rounding out. We took a multitude of plus gussets and had a mentor force the high-strength axles through them, using a machine that he has at his work, to perfectly fit the axles, and then we screwed them onto the gears, and it helped solve this issue. This is my team, 4478A, a wacky group of individuals that come together to design, build, and program a competition-ready robot. We often go over to each other's houses or go out to a restaurant before and after a competition because at a VEX competition, everyone becomes so stressed out that we need family time to bond and laugh and to remind ourselves that in the end, we all joined robotics to learn and have fun doing so. One of the most unique things about Massic Robotics is our enthusiasm. When you are in the audience of a competition featuring Massic students, you might find yourself wondering whether you are accidentally transported to a football game instead. We chant and we cheer, all in good-natured fun, until everyone in the audience is chanting their own cheers as well. The first thing I learned in VEX is that there is always something to do and improve upon, changing the intake to fit more than 1 cube at a time, or improving the autonomous or some other activity. Also, VEX competitions are high-stress events. Something is always bound to fail when it is most necessary, and you would have 5 minutes to fix it before you have to compete again. It teaches you to solve problems when the most obvious solution is simply not a viable option, as well as how to collaborate with your fellow team members and that of your alliance partner on the field. Additionally, to contribute to a team, you have to be able to portray your ideas and concepts in a manner that gets everyone to understand the point you're trying to get across. Therefore, out come the whiteboards covered in colorful markers, pencil sketches, and prototypes to accomplish such a task. Lastly, after 2 years of having to design, build, take apart, redesign, and repeat, I have found that I learn more from my failures than from the successes, because you can find out heaps of the ways that something may go wrong in the future and how to get it function again when it fails. And this is an extremely useful skill for all people to have, not just future engineers.